When I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
That's Pac, man. He was the outlaw. And Reg from Holler Back is trying to be friendly and get autographs.
So he was conscious on the way to the hospital?
He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was conscious in the ambulance. He was conscious after they did the surgery.
What was the last thing that he said to you?
They left.
The car pulled up at Tupac. Car pulled right here. Tupac at this light. Car went that way. I was living right here in 1996 when Tupac. Right here. I ain't never told nobody. Only the close people with me know.
Tupac Shakur was involved in an incident on September 7th. However, he didn't officially pass until the 13th, even though Suge Knight revealed that he was healthy in the hospital. So what happened in those 6 days in between still remains a mystery until today, as the evidence in this video leaves many to believe the rapper is still alive out there somewhere. Even Snoop Dogg this year revealed that he was supposed to be with Tupac and Suge Knight on the night of his passing.
You were with Tupac, though, in regards to Tupac. I heard a story, did you give him different advice that night on where to go?
I didn't give him no advice.
Right.
We wasn't seeing eye to eye.
Right.
So.
Saying during the Tyson.
Yeah, this incident that I'm explaining to you right now was the day before that.
Okay.
So when they got to Vegas, they went their way, I went back. I mean, when we got to LA, they went to Vegas and I went home. That's why I wasn't in the car with them.
As rappers believe Tupac faked his passing in order to escape the war between East and West Coast rap. However, to understand everything fully, we first need to dive deeper into the original story as to how Tupac passed away. According to reports, on September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Vegas with the head of his record label named Suge Knight, as they were at the MGM Grand to watch a Mike Tyson match, and after it was over, leaving the MGM Grand, they would notice a rival street member sitting in the lobby. At the scene, another friend of theirs that was with them, who is known as Trey, allegedly spotted a member of the C's known as Baby Lane. Once seeing the rival street member, he went on to warn Tupac, as Tupac then supposedly went up to Baby Lane and then asked him if he was from the South, to which Tupac immediately swung against the man, causing a massive altercation in the lobby. Security had to come out and break it up, as this would only be the beginning of a very weird night. Tupac and Suge Knight would then go back to their hotel to change their clothing. They then went off to a club to go have some fun for the night. Then roughly at 11 p.m., the two were pulled over for listening to their music too loud and driving without a license plate. Being left off with just a warning, a few minutes later a Cadillac would then stop by their vehicle on the side of the road. A mystery man in the back seat of the caddy then begins using a firearm towards Tupac and Suge Knight. Tupac was then hit multiple times, as well as Suge Knight. However, Suge was able to drive off for about a mile before getting pulled over again by the exact same police officer at the beginning. This is then when the police officer rushed them quickly to the local hospital. Tupac was seen in critical and then staying in the hospital for a very long time. However, Suge Knight was released earlier on that night, as not much damage had been done to him. And then about a week later, on September 13th, Tupac has then allegedly passed from the injuries that he had faced. However, oddly enough, the case was never even solved. And recently, Floyd Mayweather has just stated he witnessed Tupac being targeted in Las Vegas on that night, stating that he lived right there.
The car pulled up at Tupac. Car pulled right here. Tupac at this light. Car went that way. I was living right here in 1996 when Tupac. Right here. I ain't never told nobody. Only the close people with me know.
Tupac's passing was never even solved, as many believe the officers just didn't care enough to investigate who did the entire crime. However, fans immediately started connecting the dots themselves, as no one else was, and many believed immediately the notorious B.I.G. was the man behind the hit, as Biggie Smalls had been accused of going after Tupac many times in the past. These two had their beef starting all the way back in 1994, when Tupac had gone to a local studio to record a verse, then immediately had an altercation confrontation with 3 guys in the lobby of the recording studio, with them using firearms at Tupac, snatching his gold chains, as well as roughing him up pretty bad. Coincidentally, Biggie Smalls and his crew were at the exact same studio when it all went down. However, Biggie tried covering it up, saying that it was just all a coincidence, and that he had nothing to do with anything. However, according to rumors, the story just does not end there. Ever since Tupac was declared to be passed in 1996, theories about him passing and still being alive started rising all over the internet and the news, as Suge Knight was doing several interviews with TMZ, as Suge Knight would mention that Tupac was doing fine in the hospital before passing, where he would state,
I mean, when I left that hospital, me and Pac was laughing and joking. So I don't see how somebody can turn from doing well to doing bad.
So you seriously think that he might still be alive?
I'm gonna tell you this, Pac, you never know.
but what's really weird about this is that if Tupac was supposedly in a deep sleep, then how in the world could he and Suge Knight be laughing if Tupac was sleeping? That doesn't really seem to be adding up. Then when you look at 2018, Suge Knight's son took it to Instagram to state a lot of the unanswered questions, as he would reveal that Tupac was still alive and living in Malaysia. Then shortly after, Suge Knight Jr. would post to his Instagram a photo showing a text conversation where somebody randomly texted him, "You said too much, it's time for you to go." With Suge Knight Jr. now scrambling and not knowing what this means, he would then start listing a ton of photos online showing Tupac alongside modern day celebrities, such as 50 Cent and even Beyonce. He made it seem like someone was after him for leaking all of this info, as on the photo with Tupac and Beyonce, he would caption it, "He never left us, but they will be after me soon." Now, while many believe this was a publicity stunt for Suge Knight's son to gain social media clout, others believe this was all real, and that Suge Knight Jr. would be the one to know more about this case than anyone else in the world, considering his father was right there at the scene of the crime. As even back in the year 2014, Suge Knight said to TMZ something very similar, telling them that Tupac was alive and well.
So he was conscious on the way to the hospital?
He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was conscious in the ambulance. He was conscious after they did the surgery.
What was the last thing that he said to you?
They left.
And then 6 months after he leaked this information to TMZ, he almost got into a serious altercation at a nightclub where a man was affected by a firearm. However, Suge Knight was hesitant to tell the police anything. Many believe that it was all connected to him talking to TMZ about Pac still being alive. Then in 2010, another rapper named Tretch was then interviewed on the topic of Tupac before a show. Tretch and Tupac were very close friends back in the day, even working on a few albums together, but here's where things get interesting. After Tretch's interview, the cameraman forgot to stop recording, placing his camera on the floor. In the footage, you can hear the interviewer asking him about Tupac, to which he responds, "Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba."
So if you ain't ready for it, get on the sidewalk.
One last question. Is Pac still alive?
Nobody knows. Y'all good?
Yeah, we good. Thanks a lot, man.
We good. Last time I saw him, he was in church.
As Tupac being alive in Cuba is easily the most popular theory to this day. His aunt has been living in Cuba since 1994 after she was convicted of doing a very serious crime in the United States and had to escape. And then in 2018, a website called Reposters posted a photo of Tupac allegedly partying with Rihanna in Cuba. Some say the photo is fake, but many believe that it's real. In fact, the Cuba theory has become so popular, famous rapper Kendrick Lamar even references it in his track titled Element, where he goes on and says the words, "Mr. 1 through 5, that's the only logic. Fake my passing, go to Cuba, that's the only option." As Eminem even mentioned it in one of his freestyles as well, where he would say, "A lot of talk and rumors on us, who's the hottest? To be honest, hip-hop ain't been the same since Tupac moved to Cuba on us." Then when you add this with a video found in the year 2000, as a video was released to a news website of Tupac allegedly chilling in a parking lot in Cuba, things get very weird.
Look, zoom in. That's Pac, man. He with the outlaw. And Reg from Holla Back. He's trying to be friendly and get autographs. Holla back exclusive, baby. Holla back.
As in 2012, Suge Knight also said on the situation that Tupac's passing just didn't feel right. As Suge Knight went on a radio show and stated, maybe the question is, Tupac isn't really gone, and that he's somewhere else. Knight said live on the air, nobody's seen Tupac after it was announced that he passed. The person who's supposedly in charge of handling that situation got about $3 million personally from me in cash. And the next thing I know is I never heard from him or seen him again. As another very strange detail was on the official report following his passing, it allegedly listed him as 215 pounds. However, Tupac was a very slim dude, standing at only 5'9". Most sources say that he actually only weighed around 160 pounds. If you think he's alive, then subscribe.